I knew early on in my life that I wanted to write, to create. Like that was my favored creation medium, right? And so stories or whatever else, I'd have notebooks with half a story in it or some characters or like whatever. In the days where I was doing role playing games, and so there was some Dungeons and Dragons stuff going on. One of the bigger ones was Vampire Masquerade when that first came out. So just like playing some of the tabletop stuff, it's storytelling,
Yeah.
and I like that. I like the stories, like coming up with them. I would do when this is right around like the year 2000. I was playing Warhammer with a work buddy and 40K. And like I would be typing up the backstories and everything for all the battles that were getting set up, like just because it was fun. Like it's a different kind of fiction. It's storytelling. So I've always had that. Um, and then I got to a point where there was a particular story that I wanted to write, and I started in on it and was maybe 20, 30,000 words in. And I was writing from a coffee shop, and there was a small group of ladies that were right there. I think three of them, and they were talking about books and writing. And I was like, oh, like you got like, are you a writing group? Like just plunked down right next to me, and sure enough, they were. And so they're like, yeah, we're here like every other Saturday. So I was like, all right, I'm there Saturdays writing anyway. So on a day where they're there, we'll hang out for an hour, and I'll go back to what I need to go back to. So we started doing some exercises and stuff like that, some writing prompts.
Mm.
And this particular prompt I pulled out of, I didn't set it aside because I didn't even think about it. It's a deck of cards called So, and each card is like, it'll say like, so, what are one of your goals and dreams? Or so, like,
Mm.
just prompt questions for
Yeah.
journaling, for whatever else. And I pulled out this card and it said, so, what is the oldest item you own? And I was like, all right, well, that's our writing prompt for the week. You know, write something about the oldest item you own. And I got home and like I'm like, this is boring, because I could be like, it's a ring that my grandfather had, maybe, or something like that. Yeah, sure, like it's an emotional thing and whatever. But I'm like, I just kind of want to like break that rule of
Mhm.
like write something about that and write something that was just fiction. And so I started thinking, what could be one of the oldest items in the universe, and what would it look like? And to my brain, I thought, the oldest things were concepts. The concept of birth, the concept of death, the concept of entropy, et cetera, et cetera. And then I got to thinking, well, how cool would it be to have a character that has to interact with an abstract concept that is in the form of a human,
Yeah.
and like looks that way. And this was the beginning of that. I wrote like a 500 word thing just about this guy and the knife. It's pretty much turned into the first chapter of Caretaker. And when I read it to them the next week, they were just like, "Where's the rest of it? Like, you got to continue this. Like, this was really interesting." So I was like, "All right." And then I never wrote a book before, never, nothing like that. I have no idea how to publish. So I just started watching videos and learning and all that. In terms of the writing, I just wrote it. I didn't go to school for writing or anything like that. Like I just wrote it. And then when I was done, I went through an edit on screen. I went through a pro writing edit on it, so just to clean up some of the grammar and stuff like that. And then I printed the entire thing out. It's 300 some odd pages, and I did a hand edit through the whole thing. At which point I turned it over to an editor and said, "Okay, like I've done as much as I can, and now you're up." So,
Nice.
and then at the same time that I had that book going, when I was writing The Caretaker, I was just a few thousand words in and had a conversation with my older brother, and was telling him about it, and he thought it was really cool and interesting. And that was the last time I was ever able to talk to him. So we got off the phone, because he had some work stuff to do, and I was going to Las Vegas the following week. And he's like, "Oh, it's all good. Like, don't worry about it." He said, "I got to go. I got to do this stuff. You're taking a trip. When you come back, call me, and I want to hear all about it." And about a week went by. My brother had a shoulder surgery scheduled, and it was on like a Friday. That Wednesday, I flew to Las Vegas. I was there for 4 or 5 days, and he went in for the shoulder surgery on Friday. and it was 15, 20 minutes under the knife, and his heart gave out. He didn't come back. That was it. It was just to clean up some scar tissue. Um, and so that changed a lot for
Yeah.
me. That I was in the middle of a fun project, like all these kinds of things. I was really close. Like I kind of wanted to start the YouTube channel, but I didn't at that point.
Mm.
And it was pretty much at that moment where I'm like, anything or everything could be gone tomorrow in my life. Like that was really terrifying. So I might as well start. And so I did. And then I was talking about psychology and writing on the YouTube channel. Ended up at the end of that year having 8 to 10,000 subs on the channel, and that's when I released the book. And I wrote the book with the main character as an INFJ personality type,
Mm.
and I used MBTI personality typing for the other characters to nail the interactions and how they push and pull against each other. So I just kind of dug into the psychology of this person is more emotional, this person is more of a plain, logical, pragmatic kind of character, because those are the different MBTI types they are and
Yeah.
how everything interplays. It was something I loved studying and I loved writing it in there. And sure enough, I had a bunch of INFJs on my channel buying the book. And I'm like, the main character is an INFJ. And they're like, oh my God, like this is like this main character straight out of my brain. Which is really cool, that it resonated that way.
Well, I
I,
feel like us INFJs have just this ability to find each other.
it's got there's a thing to it. Like it's a thing, for sure. Because we speak languages that like we speak a different kind of language that we understand,
Yeah.
in a lot of ways, and it's very very emotionally driven. Um, so yeah, I mean, I had a pile of people that were really ready to support anything I would have written at that point because they were invested in my journey on the tube.
Yeah.
And then by the time I released it, I mean, it sold really really well. For an independent release, it sold more than most people's just independent books that they're releasing. So, like, I'll take it. And yeah, I mean, Caretaker was near and dear, and then I just kind of let it sit for a while because right after I was done writing that, I had to deal with all the emotions that I was shoving aside,
Right.
in favor of being distracted by writing a book.
Yeah.
INFJ squad. That's right. Yes, you're an INFJ. Yeah, congratulations and I'm sorry. That was always my tagline for INFJs.
So good.
Yeah.
Yep. Accurate.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, like that's where that book went, and then it was just kind of like a break. I was in a pretty depressed state, so I wasn't writing for a while, and then along came Joy Jitsu, the nonfiction work that was published back in November, and Space Pew Pew just kind of hit me out of nowhere as well. And so it's nice to be able to get the Caretaker back in more words. I redid the cover because I just wasn't a fan of my first cover,
Mm.
uh, and all that. It worked, but I knew shortly after that I wanted, like, I would have done things differently. So I had to learn that. I had to learn the royalty structure on Amazon and all this other stuff. And like, wait, I have to buy my book retail if I want it in stock. Well, that's crappy.
Mm.
So uploading the ebook, and then you
Yep.
start getting into things like formatting and all, like, just everything that you do in the self-publishing sphere. You've got to learn you've got to pick up another skill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not even to say how you market it, because you need to know how to do this stuff.
Yeah.
So like, there's just a lot to it.